Think about this for a second. One sporting event, 39 days, around $11 billion in revenue. Just 16 years ago, the 2010 World Cup in South Africa brought in less than a third of that. By Qatar in 2022, FIFA was already at roughly $7.5 billion. And now, in 2026, every previous commercial record is on track to fall. But here's the thing. Behind that number sits a question most of us never really stop to ask. Where does this money actually come from? And where does it all go in the end? The story of this 11 billion didn't happen overnight. To really understand it, you have to look back about 20 years. Germany, 2006, roughly $3.33 billion. South Africa, 2010, 3.66. Brazil, 2014, 4.8. Russia, 2018, 5.36. Qatar, 2022, 7.57 billion. Every edition broke the previous record. And if you notice, the curve isn't stopping anywhere. It just keeps climbing. The real turning point came in January 2017. New FIFA president Gianni Infantino had been in the role barely a year when he made the call that would shift the entire balance of the tournament. 32 teams would no longer be enough. From 2026 on, it would be 48, and the match count jumped from 64 to 104. Don't just see this as 40 extra matches. What was really added was 40 broadcast windows, 40 sponsor moments, 40 new revenue taps. From that point on, the financial ceiling of the World Cup moved into completely new territory. And you can probably guess where most of this money really comes from. Not from the stadium gates, from millions of screens at home. Broadcasting rights are projected to bring in around $4.2 billion. That's nearly two entire 2010 World Cups worth of money from this single revenue line alone. The matches are sold to broadcasters across more than 200 territories. In the United States, Fox holds the English rights, Telemundo the Spanish ones. And if you think about it, hosting in North America is actually a very calculated choice. The time zones overlap with primetime audiences in Asia, Europe, and the Americas, all at the same time. Now layer on top the jump from 64 to 104 matches. And that doesn't just mean more football. It means 40 new windows where ads can be sold. The second biggest revenue stream comes from a completely different source. Sponsorship. For the 2026 cycle, FIFA is projected to bring in between $2.5 and $2.8 billion from marketing deals alone. And honestly, the most striking part is this. In March 2026, FIFA announced that all 16 global sponsorship slots had already been sold. The list isn't random, it runs in tiers. At the top sit FIFA's long-term partners Adidas, Coca-Cola, Visa, Hyundai, Kia, Lenovo, Qatar Airways, and Aramco. Just think about that for a moment. Adidas has been a FIFA partner since 1970, Coca-Cola since 1978. These brands have a World Cup relationship older than most of the world. One tier below sit the tournament-specific sponsors: Budweiser, McDonald's, Bank of America, Verizon, Hisense, Frito-Lay, Mengniu Dairy, and Unilever. And there's a simple truth here you shouldn't miss. 16 slots filling up months in advance tells you this tournament is still one of the most valuable advertising spaces in the world, in the eyes of these brands. And now we get to the part that hits the wallet most directly. Tickets for 2026 start at $60 for the cheapest group stage seats and climb all the way up to $6,730 for a final ticket. Compare that. In 1994, the top ticket was $475. In Qatar 2022, it reached around $1,600. In 2026, the ceiling has gone past $6,700. For the final, A single hospitality package starts at $3,500 per person and can climb up to $73,000, roughly the price of a family car. Match day revenue alone is projected to jump from under $1 billion in Qatar to around $3 billion in 2026. And for the first time in World Cup history, prices aren't fixed. FIFA has switched to dynamic pricing, which means the cost of a seat can shift based on demand, sometimes even within a single day. Now, to be fair, dynamic pricing doesn't only push one way. For example, at last year's FIFA Club World Cup, a semi-final ticket dropped from $473 to $13.40. Still, for fans traveling from far away, that uncertainty itself becomes a new kind of cost. And it's hardly surprising that fan groups and several commentators have already raised concerns about how the system actually works. So now let's turn to the other half of the story. With this much money flowing in, who actually gets what? Total prize money for the 2026 World Cup has climbed to $871 million. Just 4 years ago, that figure was $440 million. The winning nation will take home $50 million. And just for qualifying, every team is guaranteed at least $12.5 million before they even step onto the pitch. And the money doesn't only find the teams on the field. FIFA has a structure called the Forward Program, distributing $2.25 billion to all 211 member associations across the world in the 2023 to 2026 cycle. Of course, there's the cost side too. Running the 2026 tournament alone is reported to come in at around $3.8 billion. So when you step back and put the whole picture together, $11 billion, 4 massive revenue streams, one single tournament, the scale becomes impossible to ignore. For FIFA, it may be the richest World Cup ever built. For the fans, it may be the hardest one to reach. On June 11th, the world arrives in Mexico City. On July 19th, the final whistle echoes through MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. And by the time those 39 days are over, football may have its answer. So where do you stand? Is this the moment the World Cup became the crown jewel of global business? Or the moment it drifted too far away from the people who made it matter? Let me know down below. I read every single one.